Why does being human feel so heavy and draining? And there's this deeper sense of like, yeah, okay, I can acknowledge that I'm having this human experience, but then there's like, again, this heightened awareness that says, yeah, but this is not you. You're having this human experience. You are pretending to be human. You are acting like you're human. But that's not the full picture. That's not the ultimate, see? Something within us knows that there's more to us than our physical forms. Something within us knows that there's more to us than our minds and our thoughts and our beliefs and our opinions. And when you start to meditate on the I am, or just on like who you are, beyond the body, beyond the mind, you do some kind of self-inquiry practice. What you notice, or what you realize, self-realization, is that you are awareness, consciousness itself. And consciousness is infinite, boundless, free, unlimited. So when you have a moment or an experience of self-realization, you transcend who you think you are. You transcend your mind, your body, your different egoic roles that you've been playing out within the human experience. And you taste the truth for yourself. You directly experience Brahman. And you know that you are that I am that I am. Then you come back into this human experience with this higher mind, with this recognition of the true self, capital T, capital S, and now you live out your human incarnation, but from a completely different perspective. It looks a lot different than how you were living it out from the ego when you were asleep, when you were totally unaware of who you really are or what you really are as that infinite awareness behind the egoic mind and the identification with form, the body, see? So it's a very mystical shift from believing and really believing, like genuinely believing that all you are is this separate egoic self, this human form, and that's it, that's all you are, to the realization that you are formless, that you are infinite, that you are eternal, beyond space and time. See? And then you notice how, okay, I'm back in the human form and I'm living out this incarnation, and it's heavy. It's draining because I'm having to pretend to be what I'm really not. See? And so then you notice, okay, I'm awake, I realize I am that I am, pure awareness. Then I fall asleep and I get lost in my separateness again. And it's this going back and forth, it's this dance of duality and non-duality, right? And you see that the reason it feels so heavy, and you know something's off intuitively with this belief that all you are is a separate self, is because when you're sitting there or going about your life trying to maintain these different egoic identities and the personas and the different masks that we wear, all the stuff that comes with the ego, when you're trying to really maintain that or show it off or pretend to be this or pretend to be that, it's totally out of alignment with the inherent liberation that you are. See? Because that mindset in and of itself, which is stemming from separation consciousness, is the mindset of there's something fragmented about me, or I am not inherently whole or complete. So I have to become this or that, or I have to show off, I have to prove to everyone else that I've got it all together and that I know who I am and all these different things. I have this title, this status, so that I can experience, I can then attain that sense of wholeness. But the reality of it is the wholeness, the liberation, the validation, all the acceptance, all these things that we're searching and seeking for through our somebodyness, through our ego, is what we already are. We already have it. It's who we are inherently. Nothing to attain, nothing to get out there somewhere. Because separation is an illusion. So, Shakespeare said something like, the earth is a stage and all the men and women are merely actors, or something like that. And so that's what we're dealing with in this human experience. In this human experience, we are pretending to be separate. And we have these different egoic constructs that we're living according to. And it's all about becoming somebody. But if you look at a kid, like, kids are free and they don't take life that seriously. And they're laughing and they're full of joy. Why? Because and they're full of energy. That's the other thing. They're full of energy. Why? Because that sense of separateness isn't really formed, or it's not as solid as it eventually becomes when you grow up, you see? So that's why kids are just, they experience that freedom, and they're authentic and they're real. And they don't live with as much heaviness as adults live with. And I know there's different aspects and elements to what I just said with growing up and responsibilities and stuff like that, jobs and bills to pay. I know that's definitely a factor, but I'm speaking from a deeper sense. I'm speaking from just how kids are naturally more free, and they don't take life so seriously because the energy is high, because they're not like so caught up in pretending to be a somebody. But then that's when somebody training starts, you see? Somebody training starts when we start hearing all these different things, these opinions from different family members and friends, and these different external influences in our lives who tell us that the point of this life is about becoming a somebody. And so we hear that, and then we get programmed with that, and then our entire focus becomes climbing the mountain of somebodyness. And we really strive to achieve that. And then once we think we have it, or once we think that we're on this path, we're on this path of getting it, all of our energy goes into maintaining that, and then making sure that everyone else knows that, okay, this is who I am. And then that's when comparison starts. Separation consciousness is now taking full charge, and we start the comparison game, the judgment game. And like I was saying earlier, I mean, look, when you're in that state of mind, when you're comparing, when you're judging, when it's us versus them, how do you feel? How do you feel in your body? Is it light or is it heavy? It's heavy, it's draining, it feels overwhelming. Why? Because that is not who we are. It's going against the truth of our being when we're in that state of consciousness. So here's what I'm saying though. part of the human incarnation, part of the human experience, is learning balance and harmony. And how, okay, yes, we're having this experience for a reason. And the different roles, the different egoic identities that we have, that we experience, are not bad. So don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm not saying that these are things to be avoided or that you should try to escape these different roles, because you're having this human experience for a reason, right? It's all about the experience. But yeah, so when an actor steps on the stage to play out a particular role, a character, they do that for a certain amount of time. But then there's also time when they're not on stage, when they're not acting, when they're not putting up this persona, this ego, and they're not wearing a mask. They step off stage when the particular show is over with, or maybe it's an intermission or something, or there's multiple intermissions. They take a break, they come off stage, they take off the mask, they take off the costume, and now they're just who they are, and they're free. And they're not like attached to whatever it was that character was just going through or experiencing. And in the same way, we need breaks. Infinite awareness, infinite consciousness needs these moments where we can transcend the human form and we can just be nobody, nowhere, doing nothing. See, that's the other thing. We're taught at a very young age that it's all about doing, doing, doing. But no one ever teaches us to be. No one ever teaches us just to like sit and to allow the different thoughts and feelings to pass through awareness and just to not be attached or not to grab. Here comes the rain. How about that? I'm gonna try to keep going for as long as I can, though. I'm not gonna cut this video short. If my camera gets wet, so be it. So yeah, so it's like we're not taught that. We're taught from a very young age that life is about becoming somebody, doing, working, earning, striving, achieving, and it's all kind of connected to becoming somebody. Like, that's another thing we're told and programmed with. The more you do, the better chance you'll have at becoming a real somebody. You see? So, being is equivalent to our true nature as infinite awareness, because that's awareness just is. It's not doing anything, and it's always here. It's not over there. It's not out there somewhere. No, it's right here, right now. So taking time to just be backstage, and you're not in your character, you're not playing out your egoic role, is essential for this human experience. The balance of it is essential. I'm not saying you come off stage and you just get blissed out and you transcend the ego and you just stay there for the rest of your human incarnation. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is you dance with it, you see? Non-duality, duality. You come off stage, you take a break, you just be who you are. That's meditation. That's some kind of spiritual practice that enables you to transcend the thinking mind and the different egoic attachments. And you experience the expansiveness, the liberation, the wholeness of your true self, and you're free. That's where you experience healing and rejuvenation and intuition and clarity, and then you bring that back into your human incarnation, and then you continue to play out your ego, because that's why you're having this experience to begin with, to experience what it's like to be separate. Just don't be attached to it, you see? When the actor becomes attached to their character, that's when there's this like when that person steps off stage and they're still like, when they're always in character, everyone's like, wait, what? Like, See, something's off with that. It's not natural. The character is meant for the stage. It's not meant for backstage. It's not meant for everyday life. It's not meant, see, and that's the analogy. So in the same way, yeah, like you came here to play out a role, and I teach wholeness and integration, and when you transcend, you include your ego. But the difference is, once you directly experience who you are, you know that you are not limited or bound to this human form, then now you include your human form, you include your human incarnation, but you're free in living through it because you're not attached to it. You're not identifying with it totally. But when you're on the stage and you're really performing and you're pretending, do that fully. Embrace it. Really embrace it. Just don't be attached to it. In the practice, the way of learning how to detach from identification with the ego, with the persona, which the persona comes from the ego, is doing nothing, being, sitting, meditating, spending time in nature where you're just like going for a walk or something, or you're just sitting somewhere and you're not buying into the narrative of this is this is that, right? You're just seeing that everything is one, everything out here is interconnected, it's whole, there's a flow to it, see? And that's what all the mystics and sages have been talking about. That the reality of this existence is wholeness, it's oneness. And when you transcend to unity consciousness, you see that, you experience it, and you know that you are not separate from the whole. There is no separation. Separation is an illusion. But yeah, find a practice that enables you to take the weight and the load off of maintaining your ego all of the time. Because, yeah, it's just so draining. It really is. It's a lot. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. It wears you out. And I think that's one of the main reasons why people get burnt out in doing whatever they're doing, because they just try to maintain this somebodyness their entire lives. But again, going back to children, like, they're not worried about being a somebody. They're just being, they're just playing, they're just having a great time. They're free, they're curious, and they're full of joy because of that. They're full of peace, they're full of presence. And within each and every one of us, that inner child is still there. Think about it, like when you were in school as a kid, all you wanted was to go out and play on the playground. You wanted recess. You were looking forward to it. Why? Because being in the classroom, being a student, being in the beta brainwave state and thinking and analyzing and being serious is draining. And it's not who we really are. It's amazing how life gives us so many different symbols and signs and metaphors and the different archetypes that are hidden in plain sight, you know. But that's just one, for example, to kind of think about. You need some recess time. You've been spending a lot of time maintaining this persona, which that word persona, I think it's Latin. In Latin, it means actor. It literally means actor. But yeah, you've been trying to maintain it. You've been trying to prove to other people that this is who you really are. And when you're out and about, it's like an ego trip, so it feels good for a moment. But then when you're back at home and you're by yourself and you're really thinking about it, you're depressed. You are out of alignment, and you know that. If you're honest with yourself, you know that. So this experience, I think one of the greatest lessons here is ultimately balance, like I keep saying. And there are many people who are asleep and they take on the programming of being a somebody, egoic self, and they live that way their entire lives without ever just being and like doing some self-inquiry and realizing who they really are beyond the human form. That's one extreme. The other extreme is someone who has an awakening experience. They realize who they really are. They transcend the identification with form, with being a separate self. And then once they taste the Sat Chit Ananda of infinite awareness, they're like, I'm just going to hang out here I'm not going to continue to play out this human role. And I think that's the other extreme, you see? They just get blissed out and just meditate and, yeah. But, I mean, hey, some people, they feel like that's part of whatever. That's what they're supposed to do. So I'm just saying, maybe a better way for me to say all this is, in my experience, the balance of it has been the most beneficial for my soul's evolution. And so maybe this message is only for people that resonate with what I'm saying, with the balance of being on the stage and then taking a time to take a break and to get off the stage and to spend some time backstage and to have different intermissions throughout the show of life. I think daily intermissions, I think a time where you meditate daily is what I was trying to say, or just sit and be. And that's pretty much the same thing as meditation, where you're not controlled, or you're not living from the narrative of who you think you are. See? You're just being. Simple as that. That's an intermission from the human experience of being totally controlled and identified with your egoic role, your egoic self. And it's all going to be like, okay, as you take these breaks, as you take off the mask and just relax, and that's the other thing, being able to relax, to take a break, to sit and do nothing and not feel guilty about it. Because when we've been so much into the human show, and we've been so invested into our character and our ego, we can feel guilty for like taking time away from that. See? But that's just part of the ego trying to control and trying to do what the ego does. So just ignore it, let it pass, let it fizzle out, because as you just sit in your beingness, in infinite awareness, and you just witness all your thoughts, all your emotions, all your feelings, what you'll notice is that all these different things that have been really trying to grab at you will pass like clouds in the sky. See? So, yeah, it's really, really beneficial. It's healthy. And it's going to get you through these different times where the show of life is coming with a lot of heavy stuff, and it's full of drama, and it's full of these things that overwhelm us. Being able to take breaks, it's just the same thing as like with sports, you know? It's hard to just play the entire game, or to go multiple games where you never take a break. You never, you know, get some water and just chill out for a second. It's hard to do that. It's hard to just go, 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 go. Although that's but the programming is to go, 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 go. So that's why we feel the guilt when we just take a break and we just prioritize rest. But rest, there's different levels of rest. There's physical rest. There's emotional rest. Mental rest, and they're all kind of connected. But what I'm saying is the deeper rest that I'm talking about is resting from the thought form of who you think you are. Resting from needing to be that or to show that off. And literally sinking into nobodiness, nothingness. Nobody, nowhere, no time. Just what is. That's what I'm talking about. Then you go back to the role, you play that out, you do what you do, and you keep dancing. Yeah. So, again, I think this video is going to be for those who really resonate with what I'm saying. If it doesn't resonate with you, that's fine. Go to the next video, watch something else. But I think for many of you, it will resonate, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comment section below. So that's it. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.